Hello and welcome back to the channel. Tried to get out last weekend, but just torrential rain, and we've just had storms and rain. It's middle of the weekend. I got my bag that was already packed, so I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to leg it and get out, and at least just get out for the night. So it's a Saturday night. Yeah, lots of cars going past, so the road is just there. My car is just there. I come here occasionally if it's a last minute, and I know there's wood here. It's right near the car. It's quick and easy, in and out. Yeah, I had to go to the garage to get some stuff. So all I've got in here are some buns, some frozen beef burgers, bird's eye beef burgers, a bit of cheese, and a bottle of wine. I think I've been rumbled. Someone's just walked past there, and I can see the blonde hair walking past. Oh, bugger, they must have heard me talking to camera. Yeah, I can hear them. Oh shit, do I have to move on now? Let's just wait here and see what happens. No, been back to the car and had just a check down the road. They've thinned out, so got my little camping chair. Always keep these in the back of the car. God, the amount of crap I've got in the back of the car, which you've probably seen on the previous video. Anyway, this will give me a little bit of comfort tonight. The ground is sodden, so my little stool I think will just sink in, so this was a bit better. I don't have long, so I better get myself set up. So I always have a bag that just has all my stuff for cooking, fire, everything else. It's just easier just to put it all in one bag. It's a great dry bag, and yeah, I'm a big fan of keeping everything together. This is the Superior Gear hammock. I always keep bits of yellow, which are the head end. There we go, my little yellow ring, so it tells me that's the head end. There are some gnats in here. I don't like gnats, it's just this constant. Hopefully they'll bugger off, because I don't have a bug mesh, and they're sort of, I don't know, I feel a bit itchy and scratchy. Actually, this is really bad positioning, so if you look down here, I'll try and direct you down here. So this is where my head end's going to be, and then I've got that stump right under there. Actually, that's not very good. My head's up here, I need to shift everything right up this way. So yeah, it's always worth looking at what you're lying on top of, what's going to happen if you fall. So you always need to be ready to fall that distance and what you're going to fall on. My brother's had a nasty injury because of falling on rocks. He was trying to be clever with a load of climbing gear, and the climbing gear was actually absolutely fine. He does a lot of climbing, but the hammock, he f***ed on the hammock end and fell onto rocks. Nasty. Right, that's the farmer. I just got to hope that that couple who walked down there weren't local. I don't know who owns this. I don't know if it's farmer owns it, or if it's National Trust, or if it's I don't know. I've got no idea. Love this hammock. Absolutely love this hammock. This is my favourite way to hammock, really, is just open. I'd much rather not have the bug mesh or anything like that over me. Just keep it really simple. There's no underquilt to put on with this thing. It's all built-in underquilt. I've got a protector over it as well. If it does rain tonight, I'll have a look at the weather later. I don't think it will. Corinthia Defence 1 sleeping bag, which is an amazing bit of kit. Limit comfort is down to about +4, +5. Tonight's going to be about +9. I always add 5 on for that, so that should be absolutely fine. Then my pillow, which as always I keep tied up to here, and then a bungee cord. I prefer to have a luminous. The luminous is always at the head end. If that falls out in the middle of the night, it just swings down there, and I can see it quite easily. So it's a nice little way of doing things. I'm finding I'm really loving. It's the knife I always go for is this this Mora Garberg. I mean, it's a great knife. It's a stainless steel one. You know, everything's soaking wet in the winter. I just every time I go out, I just grab this. In fact, I've got fancy carbon steel things. Just grab this, and it's always works for me. Great knife. Right, it's starting to get dark now. Got my silky, got my torch, gonna head off now, see if I can get any more dry standing. Just check, got my keys, and I've recharged my little light on there, got my phone on me as well. Great wood. Fantastic, made a bloody racket though. So God knows if anyone's walking down there, but I'm really pushing my luck at the moment. Yeah, the light is really starting to go, so if I can just chop these two up, I'll be sweet. And that'll be time to light the fire. Right, this is Wild Camping Suicide. I'm right next to that track. It's dusk, people could be walking, I wouldn't have a clue. It's darker in here. Oop, car. Okay, he's gone. Not really smart. Anyway, this is the fire setup. So these were wet. These are ones I left here last time. They are soaking wet, but I'm going to put those on the base, put that there, got my wood sorted, and then I've got my little stuff over there. As soon as that's going, this will go on, and then we'll start piling up. But I'm just going to wait a little bit longer because, yeah, it's not quite dark. So I'll give another 10 minutes. I'll have a swig of the wine and go from there. Right then, we're gonna have to keep it quite slick. So these gnats are doing my head in without a bug mesh. I'm not sure how this is gonna go. So one of my homemade fire starters. And I'm just stuck in a fuel block on there as well. I can't be arsed. I'm using a lighter, and I wrap my lighters with twine because you can break that twine apart and make some great tinder. And then the good old Gorilla Tape. Right, let's get this going. Make sure we get these in. Get involved, lads, come on. Right, lights out. This just goes to show, even though it's been torrential rain here for the last week, everywhere is flooded, the ground is absolutely sodden, but there's always, certainly in the UK, there's always something. I haven't split any wood or anything like that. I haven't had to do that this time. I've managed to find stuff, but most of the time I don't need to split stuff. I think this location is really good, and there's plenty of wood that is dead standing and up off the ground. Probably half of it's because I've been here before, but if it isn't and it's on the ground, you might have to split it and take the bark off a bit, but you know, no problem today. Lots of dry stuff, plenty. I think the danger period for people has gone away. It's dark out there, they need to have their torches on, and I'll see them, I hope. I'm going to keep my eyes open.
Is there all of this high recently, there was a guy that I saw, the police arrested him.
Someone's here, getting in and out of the car. They've been parked there for about 5 minutes. But I can't move because I can't turn a light on. They're off. Right, nearly rumbled there. There's a car that stopped just back there. All the lights went out. I was trying to hide the fire as best I could. Anyway, this is what I carry in my pocket. In here I've got my Opinel knife number 6 with the lock taken off. I've got a torch. Let's have a look. Got a laser. I don't know why I've got a laser. I've got no idea. It's just a laser. Then I've got a torch, which is a great little bit of kit. I think it's an E18R, really small magnetic back. And I keep this, you know, if I'm in my civilian sort of clothing, this is on me all the time. And then zipped up in here, I've got a lighter with a ferro rod. I've got cordage. I've got some those little wax fire things. I've got some more cordage. I've got a compass. I've got some little lights. The chemical, little really mini chemical lights. A couple of other things probably in there as well. That just I don't know. It's an everyday carry now. It just sits on me. Got a carabiner on the end. Just clicks onto my belt buckle, and we're good to go. Sits in my pocket. Love it. Right, yeah, nearly rumbled there. That car just stopped. The fire. I've let the fire go right down because I was here for about 20 minutes, just keeping my head down. But I need to get my food on, so I'm hoping this fire gets going again. And then tonight I'm just going to use this contraption, which I've used many times, but I brought it out on its own. We're going to do 2 burgers. It's probably just a young couple getting up to something. It only took 2 or 3 minutes, so...
Does it make a difference? Is it a case of, like, you know, people who work for the NHS? It doesn't matter where people are from, their job is to help.
Right. How's this going to work? Bloody brilliant. Move it forward a bit. Not ideal, but alright. Couple of buns. Very careful with this knife because it is uber sharp. Very cheap, shitty cheese. Right, that'll do. Basic burger meal. Right, that's me into bed. Pleasant night actually a really pleasant night. No bug net, which worries me a little bit because there were lots of midges around, and tomorrow morning, I don't know, it gets very wet, and so I guess the midges come up, but I'm knackered. I'm gonna go to sleep. See you in the morning.
That the Israelis did not know that Hamas was planning an attack. Not only were there exercises, military exercises within the Gaza Strip, creating feints against the fence.
Right, well, morning. That was a good night. You can see I got the tarp up. The rain was forecast to come in, 90% rain in the night. and it did come in, so luckily I'd put this thing up already. I don't like putting up tarps because it was a moon. The moon was out, and it was, I wouldn't say it's full, but I think it's pretty big. But I couldn't see it last night. I could see the light it was shedding. It was, but I couldn't see the moon, and I prefer having an open hammock with no netting, no bug mesh rather, and no tarp, and just looking up. I love looking up into the trees, particularly on when we got the moon out. And so it was out last night, but I couldn't really see it. But I'm glad I put this up. So we did get the rain, and we got a bit of drizzle again in the morning, so it was worth doing. I love this tarp. I'm going to just talk to you briefly about the tarps and just show you around this one. It's my favourite, and out of all my gear, from knives to sporks to tents to hammocks, this tarp is in my top 10. But I'll show you around it. Right, I've got to get a wiggle on, so I better get going. I just talk briefly through the different tarps that I use. I've got a couple of DD tarps, the bigger ones. I've got the DD 3x3, which stays in the car. That's my sort of backup tarp if I ever forget to bring something out. I then got the super light, which is the 2.9x3, which is great, which is my general tarp that I use most of the time. If I'm not using a hammock, that's the one that comes out. If I'm sleeping on the ground in the woods. Nice. I've then got sort of 3 what I would call hammock tarps, and this is my default. This is the Warbonnet Mini-Fly, which I'll walk around with you in a second and just show you. And this I use in the summer. This is a Sil Poly one. It's lovely, and what I love about it is just how compact it goes compared to the DD tarps. It's just really light and really compact, just stunning for the amount of space that it gives me. And it's, I love it because it gives me an 11-foot hammock underneath it. Just fantastic bit of kit. And then if it gets winter, I've got a Superfly, Warbonnet Superfly, completely closes in all, front and back. That's made of Sil nylon, so it stretches that a little bit more in the heavy winds. It's a bit more winter resistant, if you like, I think. Soaks up water a bit more though, so it can sag a little bit in the mornings when you get out, and you got to carry that water out. So not ideal, I've got to say, but that's my winter one anyway. And then for the days where there's going to be no rain, surely, then I take that Hennessy rain fly that I think I showed in a couple of videos ago. Now it's just so compact, you just chuck it in there, and in an emergency it'll go up and attach onto your suspension on my summer hammocks. Don't think it would do it, hack it on this one. And then I've also got a DD, what's it bloody called, Tarp S, DD Tarp S, which is great for hammocking, great for bivvying, just the right sort of size. I've got a Cedar Summit thing, which is more for mountaineering. It's kind of a mustard yellow. I take it when I go hiking, just because if I get stuck on top somewhere, I can use a couple of my walking poles and that just to make a decent shelter. So I always take that if I go hiking. Did do a couple of weeks ago with a family up in the Lake District. And then I got a couple of the 2 Magic Carpets from DD, just ground mats really, and emergency shelters that I carry in the family bags and so on. But anyway, too many tarps. If you're going to go hammocking, I personally think this is the only one you really need, or this sort of thing. If I was going real winter, with snow and sleet and everything coming in, and in a wood, of course, the rain just comes down. It doesn't really come sideways, so you don't need to worry too much. But you never know. And exposed, I'd maybe want a full cover here, but this one has, you can see it does have some cover which comes in across here. That really does help protect this start of the hammock, because if you do get rain, well, not necessarily splashing, but rain coming in at this sort of direction, it doesn't really stop much in terms of wind, but it just stops that rain getting in to this part of the hammock. It's very good. Love it. Love this tarp. This is what I do on the on here. So I've just got Dyneema running down, but then, and I can't remember what this knot is called here, but I tie it there, and you literally attach one bit in here, and then you just do a couple of loops here, and then you do the same here. I forget what it's called now, but it just adds the elastic. And so if the wind is howling, you've got play in there, you've got some elastic, you know, it's not gonna rip. I mean, I think this is sewn in pretty well, but it just means that that's not going to rip. You're going to keep the pressure off this. If this is blowing away, you know, you've got some flex in there. I do that with all my hammock tarps that I'm expecting to have to maybe take a little bit of punishment. Right, the ridgeline itself is relatively lightweight. I used to run the ridgeline through, and you'll see these little loops here at the end of the end of the tarp. I used to run the ridgeline and run it through there, and then the tarp went over the top of the ridgeline, and it was all built into the snake skins. But I just found that just became too bloody fiddly with everything out. I find it just easier just to get the ridgeline up first and then attach tarp onto there. It feels lovely. The material feels lush. I could keep doing that for ages. But I'll show you so the ridgeline, I think it came from Dutchware. I think it's Dutchware. So up here, you right at the end of the ridgeline, is that a Dutch clip? I don't know what it's called, but it goes around there and it just attaches onto itself. And then instead of Prusik knots, you got this, and as soon as its weight is applied here, so you hook on, I've got a bit of cordage there, which is again some very thin Dyneema, but it's in a fisherman's loop, fisherman's knot to make a loop. That hooks over the little hook there, and as soon as weight is applied, you can see you get this bend comes into the ridge line, and that just holds it tight. And then I always really, if I can, go for I think on all but one of my tarps I use a snake skin, and that's just a mesh snake skin. It just makes life so much easier. And then the other part of the ridge line is this funny looking toggle. Now I'm not going to pull it all to pieces so you can see really, but it's a little toggle. It runs up and down. All you do, you pull a little bite, wrap it over, and that locks the toggle in a place. You then run your ridge line around the tree, back again, and then just loop a couple of times around. You don't have the mechanical advantage that you get with a trucker's hitch, but it holds it lovely and tight anyway. The only thing I'd say about this ridge line is that while it's lovely and light and it's very strong and I do like it, in the winter I've used it once where my fingers were cold, and that was it. Not interested. It was just too bloody fiddly. Maybe it's just my fingers, but my fingers were too cold, and I got a little bit frustrated with it. So on my Superfly, which I use in the winter, everything is big, simple toggles, Prusik, everything's big, simple to use is what I'd recommend. But yeah, so that out of all my gear, this is within the top 10, because I'm just gobsmacked at how light and small it goes for such a big bit of kit, and it's done well in very heavy rain, and relatively windy day, but you don't get much wind really when you're deep inside a wood. Be interested in what your thoughts are on sleeping bags versus quilts. I've never slept under a quilt, so I can't really comment. All I know is that I'm more than happy sleeping with a sleeping bag, as long as the foot area has a separate zip, or ideally has a separate zip, because a separate zip would allow me to convert it into a bit of a cocoon around a hammock maybe. But a footbox already built into the sleeping bag, and then I just zip it all the way down, and as long as my feet go into that footbox, I've just never had a problem with it. Yeah, is it worth me getting a quilt? I suppose it's lighter, less material. And for a hammock, perfect. But I like the idea of a sleeping bag on the ground. Personally, I'd rather have, even though it's compressed under me, it's material. It's all one thing. Haven't been able to get my head around that yet. And I've got quite a few sleeping bags, and I don't need something else to sleep under. Yeah. Corinthia Defense 1, amazing bit of kit. Doesn't compact down particularly well, so it does have some compression system on here, squash it down a little bit, but it's synthetic. But as with everything from Corinthia, it's just absolute top quality. It's also absolute top bloody price. I did think, this is their Defense 1, I did think about their Defense, was it Defense 4? Takes you down to minus 15 degrees centigrade, but I've already got a British Army, the British Army version, which isn't as good, but that takes you down to minus 10 degrees centigrade, and it looks exactly the same, but it doesn't have the same sort of I think waterproofing protection or something along those lines, and there's a down difference as well. So I don't really need to go for anything else, but those are quite bulky. Anyway, yeah. Do I go for a quilt? My favourite little blow-up pillow is the little Cedar Summit, that big. I think it's blue and grey. But I've now thrown away my second one of those, which failed on me up in the Quantock, up on the Dartmoor. Thermarest, I've got a Thermarest one, that's been really good. It's a bit more bulky, but it hasn't let me down yet. But if I'm going bikepacking or I want to be lightweight, I used to take the Cedar Summit, because they're so small. But there's two I've got through now that have failed. You know, they've both lasted quite, probably a couple of years each. But all the same, if I'm taking a hammock, I just take a nice loose pillow. If you're going to have a pillow in a hammock, don't have a really tight pillow. You want something, because your head is already up a little bit, so you want something that's not too thick. But that's lovely. I don't know, I can't remember what this is. Some sort of compact pillow thing. And as you've seen, I've got a little rigging system so I can hold the pillow in. Works well with the toggle. Right, that's me done. I'm just down there. That is down to the gate. I was camping just in there. There's another little spot just up here, which I think looks a little bit better. It's a bit more open, but it's further away from the track. So it might be a smarter place. I think next time I'm going to pop myself into there. It needs a bit of clearing though, lots of dead branches, etc. And I think what I'm going to do is dump my bags now, and then go for a wander down here, because I've never really pushed all the way down through this wood. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I don't really think I've got any title for it. I don't know what I'm going to put on the thumbnail. But next time I'll try and make it a little bit more thought out. No real thought went into this video. So see you next time. Bye.